Good evening. It is December 23rd, 2022, and today we're just looking at a range day. Pretty solid volume. I'm been very pleased with the volume this week, with how close it is to the holidays. So, um, you can see I marked plenty of trades in here. But yeah, let's take a look at them, and we'll see if there's volume on Monday, the day after Christmas. It might be a little slow. I would think more people are taking next week off as opposed to this week. So we got this trend working up in the overnight. You get a bounce here, and then right before a news item, I think 5 o'clock comes somewhere in here. Oh wait, maybe not. Oh, okay. I didn't realize that this was so pretty much right at 5 a.m. You get this second entry long, and it turned out that this was actually a failure right here, a failed second entry short. So when I was looking at it up until now, I liked it as a failure. But one thing to think about on this failure is that prices here went below the EMA. So not ideal, but it is a failure. I went long on the second entry long. So maybe what you do is if you're looking at it as a second entry long like I was, maybe you just drop a limit order after it ticks above here, one tick above this, and you would have gotten filled. I remember pretty clearly. Let's see, that would have got you 50. So your entry would be 58.50 as opposed to 59. So that would save you two ticks, and that sometimes that makes a big difference. And you can see pretty much you get your scalp, and then the news item comes out and it rockets down, and that could be two. So a little more than two measured legs of correction. And we come down here, and you can see people first entry, failed second entry. This is off of a trend channel, but they just track people because look how far away from the EMA that is. So if you see that and you get this higher low, fairly bullish signal bar, lots of room back to the EMA, you might take that. Yeah, about 4 points back to the EMA. And then we come up, we find some resistance at that trend line, but then we make another push up, and we make a new high after the break of this channel, and then it reverses. So I would look at this as a double top, first entry, failed second entry long, but it just doesn't set up very well. It's congestive. You can see that 1, 2, 3, 4 bars overlapping, lots of dojis. Just not the greatest signal bar. And that makes it right at the midline of the overnight range. So not the greatest setup. And then we come down here and you get a first entry, second entry, but you'd have to take that on the engulfing bar. So it's really just not a great entry, but it looks like we're trying to make it to the overnight lows. So maybe you consider that. But there's just no trend line there. I mean, if you had a trend line, it'd be something like that. And we already have a break and a new low. I remember seeing that in real time and just thinking about that. You can't take this because, first of all, it closed with a lot of stem. Even if it closed on its low, you're going into the lows, so you can't take that. Too risky. Anyway, we come down here. This is a second entry short, but this looks like a failure, really. And you just don't know what's going on at this point. I don't think you can take that. But that's a really nice move down. You get this second entry short, but the signal bar is no good, and it just looks like congestion, and that's what happens. I mean, you can see it break out to the low side and then just traps a bunch of people. And maybe if you're playing the range, maybe you go be aggressive and take that, but it's just the first entry. So I'm thinking, well, yeah, no, this is a move up. So we get an overshoot, um, and we get two legs of correction. That's what I'm seeing because I'm seeing this as one leg down. We get a break, two legs of correction, a new low, um, and then we get this move up, and we get this move down. I don't see I mean, maybe this is an attempt at a new high. All these, but really, you're just going sideways here. That's actually, I think I had, yeah, I did have a range earlier. I'm not sure what happened. Basically, the closes from yesterday, you can see holding prices. You get a triple test or a double test, I like to say, off that. But let's look at this stuff first. So anyway, we get this move down, and you get a first entry, failed second entry right here. I like it. It's off the what I had drawn as the overnight lows. Um, you would have gone short one tick below this bar. So that's a good signal bar. I mean, you have to put your stop above here. Um, but I like this in real time. We didn't get a new low on this channel, so we're below the EMA. Um, however, you can see this is a level of support here. So I marked it green. I mean, I marked it red. Maybe I should have marked it green, especially after we got that double test right here. Um, yeah, maybe I should mark that green, but I'll leave it red. But, you know, it's a tough call. I'm sure this is some type of news item that I just wasn't aware of. I don't see anything in here, especially since we're bouncing down here. We're bouncing up here. So just sit tight. We get this bounce again. So look, some people might be looking at this as something, but we're going back and forth. You got all these big bars, a lot of overlap. Just sit tight. And it bounces, and you get this first entry, second entry. That's also a double test. That's why I marked it red. Originally, I had it drawn like this. So if you have it drawn like that, well, you have a break and a move to a new high. But after the fact, it kind of looks like you want to draw it off the first swing, and that makes it look like this. So I like this entry, but then you get a second entry long, and you might even take this one lower high, plenty of room back to the EMA. It's just not great signal bar. But yeah, I mean, we just kind of double test off that. So we're probably going back to the EMA, and that's exactly what happens. And then you get a second entry long with a very bullish bar. And when I was watching this live, I was like, okay, it's going to test this high again. So you're not expecting it to rock it up, but that's what it does. That turns out to be a really good move. And we get this congestion, leads to a break. And then we get a new high, and it reverses. And you get a first entry, failed second entry long, good entry, and why did I mark this? Oh, okay. Technically, this is a second entry short. You can see first entry, second entry, and we're expecting a new low. And yeah, you get two legs down to a new low, and it reverses. I looked at all of this as a double bottom. First entry, failed second entry. You'd have to go on the engulfing bar here, though. I mean, look at all that overlap, though. And you got to know the context that we're in the middle of these overnight highs and lows. So there's reasons why you have this overlap in here. So that's why people who went long all the way up here, they got trapped. And it goes, let's see, it takes you out 47. So 47.50. It gets those people by one tick, and then it goes where they thought it was going to go. All right, and then we're just going sideways, chopping around. I looked at this as a range because you can see that midline holding prices, but it turns out we're in a spike in channel. So you can't take any of this. You're just going into level of resistance, but we break out. We test it once. You get a second test, but that's inside the range, but it's a second entry long, and it's off of this trend channel that's already been confirmed. So maybe you take that. And this is a new low, so you do get a failure right here after a bounce off the trend channel. That's also a second entry long once it breaks above that. So I marked that blue. You could argue for that to be green though, but this is clearly a channel. You know, I think I have to mark this green because we haven't made it to the highs of that channel. So I'm going to keep that green. And it's just we're within the overnight highs and lows. So anyway, this channel, we come to the highs of it, and then we get a break. And you get this failure, but we haven't had a new high of this channel yet, so you got to be patient. We get this range, and it's just too choppy, too much overlap. Got a second entry short right there, but we had a breakout to the low side, so I would expect it to go out the high side. I mean, eventually it does. First entry, second entry, that's pretty good. Second entry short signal bar, but again, you're not looking for that. But you know, when it responds to the midline and breaks out here, that's a failed second entry short, but it's not on the right side of the EMA. It is a higher low back into a range, but we don't know what's going on here. Yeah, that's probably just a measured move where it bounced. So yeah, you can see measured move is pretty much right at the midline of the overnights. But I don't think you can take that. But if you're patient, you get a second entry long off of that trend channel. And really, once it broke out, I typically, I mean, it depends, but oftentimes when it breaks out, the range kind of loses its validity. So you do get a second entry long off the trend channel right there. A lot of people like that. You can see. Then you get a second entry long up here, and we are expecting a new high, or at least to test that high. So we did test or attempt to make a new high, but that's just too close. You got this doji right here. That's exactly where it bounced. You can see if you look, that's exactly where we had this swing bounce. So look, that's 3 bars in a row. This is a doji basically, so you just got to be careful. And really on a larger frame chart, I believe you see this leg down. Well, that's probably 1 bar, and these are all inside bars. So just something to think about. It's probably why that's a trap. Also, you're going into the overnight highs, so there's going to be resistance there. You got this failure trap too far from the EMA. We still haven't gotten a new high. So when we get this reversal, this signal bar is very good, so you might take that. But the problem is this went below the EMA. However, I don't know, that looks like a trap. And that's what brings us up. And we didn't make a new high, but we certainly tested that high. So that brings us into the end of the day. So I hope everyone had a great week. If you're celebrating the holidays this weekend, enjoy it. Um, and I'll be back next week. Maybe if Monday is low volume, I probably won't make a video. Uh, but the rest of the week, usually there is some volume, so I'll make some videos. Have a great weekend. I'll be back next week.